Hey, Steph.
Yes.
It's episode 222 of the Foo Bar Show. Ready for some hard-hitting comedy nonsense?
222. Let's go.
There's much to discuss, Steph, and it's just you and me today. But first, find a bunch of cool Foo Bar Show merch at tpublic.com, man. Find tons of new merch items like totes, travel mugs, magnets, baseball tees, and regular tees, and tons of new colors and styles. Go to our merch page found at foobarshow.com to check it all out. Also, click on the link for my band, The Fallen Electric, at the bottom of foobarshow.com for music and merch, also through TeePublic. Add The Fallen Electric music to your Spotify or Apple Music playlist today. And lastly, ALF Live Events. Whether you'd like to host your next virtual event or you're ready to go live, in person, or given the time, Steph, in a socially responsible manner, ALF can help you do it right. They pride themselves in being masters of audio, visual, and lighting solutions. And most recently, Steph, they have become masters of virtual events and meetings, partnering with their clients to produce live events in a socially safe environment. Go to alflei.com to get their contact information. They can be contacted via phone call or email for any questions on how they can help you produce a flawless event. That's ALF Live Events at alflei.com. That's alflei.com. And now, without further ado, Steph, episode 222, here we go. From Filthy Martini Studios in Ontario, California, it's the Foo Bar Show! Hey, what's up, everyone? I am Joe C. Thank you all very much for listening to the Foo Bar Show. Thanks for hitting subscribe, and remember to rate, review, and tell your friends like a champ. You can always reach us and check out our merch at foobarshow.com. That's FOObarshow.com. And search FOO Bar Show on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. Check us out, drop us a line, and we'll foo it up like a couple of foos. Ain't that right, Steph?
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could have said my name anymore.
I think I probably could have, Steph.
Yes.
Well,
it's like I'm being called out in the classroom.
Yeah, Steph. Well, I'm not using your full name, Stephanie. I know that makes you cringe.
Gross.
But today, it's just you and me. It's sans the Foos. No Josh.
I'm full bitch on this one.
Yeah,
I'll admit it.
And no Foo.
Nothing gets past you, man.
I know, Foo. I know. And man, it's rare that we have a Steph episode. This is really what we call them when we don't have the Foos. Is a Steph episode.
It's just a Steph episode.
And what is this? Steph episode number 4 or 5 ish, more
probably.
or less. Yeah, like I said, it's rare that this goes down the way it does.
Who's keeping track?
I don't know, not me.
It really should be.
It should be your job. That's actually your
that's
job.
my job.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring something up because it hasn't been an easy week for Joe C, and I'll get started with playing a little taps here.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, Steph, on Tuesday, when I was having band practice, my Marshall solid state amplifier, which isn't really much to brag about, but it's the only one I had, took a dump.
No.
It shit out.
No.
And and you know what? It was probably about time. I'm not going to say that I was abusing it, but I played a lot of shows with it in the last, 6 years that I've had it.
Yeah.
And normally these kinds of amps should last anywhere between 20 to 30 years, but I bought it used, so who knows how long it had been since it was manufactured. But because of that, it made me go to music stores. And, when I was a kid, when I was like an early teen, like a young teenager, you love going to music stores, especially like your Guitar Centers, your Sam Ash. And it's a fun experience because you can just fuck around with a bunch of shit,
Oh,
as long as you don't play Stairway, they don't bother you. But that's the point. When you're an adult actually looking to spend some fucking money, nobody bothers you. Like, nobody even asks, and you've been in that situation with me before. Yeah. Where you walk in looking for help or even looking to pay something. Like to pay for something, and it takes at least a half hour to find a motherfucker.
There would always be more customers than there were customer service representatives.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But when you're really looking for something,
nobody's willing to help.
There's not even a bell you can ring.
Nope, nothing.
Nobody's at the desk.
Nope.
There's no manager you can speak to.
And so that's what happened the following day on Wednesday. We didn't rehearse that day because of other things unrelated to me not having an amp, because I could have borrowed somebody else's. But I went in, I used the time that I had to go into Sam Ash. And this is the Sam Ash that the one that was built over by where my parents live, over by City of Industry. And I walk in and then, I'm looking to get some help because I'm just looking for recommendations. I don't see that they have much out on the floor.
Right.
And I walk up on this guy who is like on his computer by the desk where they have the guitars. And I'm like, just kind of waiting there, seeing if he acknowledges me. And he's just kind of there. And I felt like, and this guy, I'm not going to say he looks like comic book guy from The Simpsons, but he's comic book guy from The Simpsons if he was maybe 150 pounds lighter. An average weight guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this guy, he's just, there, Mr. Comic Book guy, there on his computer, refusing to acknowledge that I'm standing like no more than 3 feet. I know it should be 6, but I'm really trying to get this guy's attention. I'm wearing my mask, I'm in there. And he kind of like, he doesn't move any muscle in his body. He just...
why? It's because he knows that you're there. Burrowing your glare right into the back of his head.
Glaring, no, in front of his head. I'm right in front of him. There's no way he can't see me. And then the only thing that moves are his eyeballs, and they look like right at me. And I'm just like, sorry. I see that you don't have much of a I'm bothering this guy, I'm sorry, you're supposed to be at work, dude, but I see that you don't have much of a selection. Do you recommend anything? And this is one of the things that ticks me off, because I could have just done this at home, where I could have just gone on the website and checked out all the specs and shit like that. But I wanted to see, okay, this guy works amongst all these amps.
Right.
But maybe, I don't know, I keep doing this to myself. I always come back like super, super disappointed whenever I make a trip to Sam Ash for a big ticket item. Sam Ash, Guitar Center. I'm not trying to just single out Sam Ash, but these fucking like big name music stores.
Right.
And he proceeds to read the tag to me, which I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm just thinking I could have done that, dude. I could have done that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, and I'm just like, don't say it, bro. Don't fucking say it. And he proceeds to say, well, you can just go on our website because we have more of a selection there. But I'm like, dude, I wanted to see what you might have here that maybe I can plug into and listen to with the cabs, that you have here.
Right, maybe like a different brand that you haven't heard of.
I was really looking at maybe getting like an orange brand or something else. Not Line 6, because no. But maybe another type of Marshall or an orange or even a Fender.
That you can try out in person, which is the whole point of these stores.
Of being there.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of me walking in there. That was my point, my personal point. And that should have been clear at this point. But it wasn't. And I'm like, all right, dude. And I guess I could have just asked to plug into what they had there. But I'm just like, I'm probably just going to waste my time. And I was already ticked off and I walked out. But it never fails, dude. That's why I do all my shopping for any kind of musical accessories, or even now for this, I just go online. I go to Sweetwater or Reverb.com if I'm looking for something used. But I am now, as of maybe this coming Wednesday, I will be the proud owner of a tube amp. Ooh. And this is my first tube amp that I'll ever own. And I'm very excited because for those who aren't familiar with solid state and tube amplification, it's not very much different, at least not in 2021. Maybe 30 years ago, it was a big deal. A lot of people get tube amps because they just feel the more natural. They sound more natural. They have more warmth in the amp. But it really responds with the way that you're playing the guitar a lot better than a solid-state amp. Now, technology has come a long way where a lot of solid-state amplifiers could match the feeling of a tube amp. But I wanted to really kind of kick up and update my arsenal that I'm working with.
Right.
So I went, not to say that I went old school, but I did go. I made a conscious decision to make to buy a tube amp, and I couldn't be more excited.
So to the trained professional musician, would you be able to hear the difference between solid state and tube?
Yeah.
And would you be able to, come up with the conclusion, he's using or she's using
if I didn't know?
Like that type of head.
Kind of like a Pepsi versus Coke kind of situation?
Yeah, just by listening. Is it one of those, like,
if you're trained,
is
if
it
you know
that much of a difference?
If you know what you're listening to, yes, you should be able to tell that the tube amp feels more natural, more warmer than the solid state. If you get a really enhanced and updated and kind of like state-of-the-art solid state where they fucking, like, you're paying up the ass for something like that, which at that point, if you're paying so much, just get a tube amp. Yeah, it would sound like a tube amp, but nobody's paying that much for a solid state, in my opinion, because somebody who has that kind of money is going to want that vintage, warmer kind of sound coming out of a tube amp.
Okay.
So it would be a little counterintuitive to pay a lot of money for a solid state at a certain point. But if you're going for run-of-the-mill, kind of like just maybe anywhere between $800 and, let's just say, $2,000 purchase of just the head of the half stack or full stack, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to tell too much of a difference unless you really know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But I wanted to really get that tube amp just because I can say I have a tube amp.
Hey, guys, guess what I got?
Hey, you want to see my receipt? No. But so that's what I had to deal with this week.
That's not uncommon. I remember when I bought you a bass for your birthday.
Yeah.
Years ago, and the same thing happened to me at Guitar Center. I knew exactly the one that I wanted.
Yeah, it was, you bought me that Paul McCartney looking bass.
Right.
That violin body.
Yes. Yeah. Sunburst color.
Yep.
Classic.
It's awesome. I still have it. It's great.
And the guy at the cash register was just like, we don't have that in stock. Why don't you just buy it online and have it shipped to the store? And he literally
Cunt.
Fuck, right. There was no computer that I could use. He didn't do it for me. I had to get on my phone and then fill out everything and show him my confirmation number. And he's just like, yep, we got it in the system. It'll be here in 2 to 3 weeks. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, no. Yeah. You literally called Guitar Center. Where's this fucking guitar?
This is supposed to be the center
Yes.
for guitars. And it's no surprise as to why they're not doing great in business. I mean, I'm sure their online sales are great.
Are they even around anymore?
Yeah, I think they're, at least from here in Southern California, the nearest one to us is in Glendora.
Is that one still open?
I don't know. I guess. Maybe. I haven't gone there, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, that happened, guys. And another thing, completely unrelated to what we just talked to, but I may send my jizz up to the moon.
Why? To impregnate those moon ladies?
Those moon ladies. No. Scientists want to send 6.7 million sperm samples to the moon. And so the article here says that scientists have begun to lay plans for repopulation, starting with a sperm bank on the moon. In what they're calling a modern global insurance policy, mechanical engineers have proposed that humans establish a repository of reproductive cells, sperm and ova, from 2.7 million of Earth's species, including humans. So it's not just going to be humans. So it's going to be more of like a proposed ark that would take all of these, jizz samples from different species to the moon's surface. So the plan is, and there's a nice little nifty diagram that you can see right there, Steph.
Oh, yes, a nice 3D rendering.
Of so it's going to be like underground. So the planning right now is still in, I can't don't jizz into a bottle quite yet, fellas. But they're thinking of taking it up to the moon, building this underground base because that can protect it from the extreme temperature fluctuations on the moon that can happen.
Can get to minus 400.
Yeah,
in those craters.
Yeah, and which would be great because it would be naturally preserved in that temperature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm sure there's going to be some mechanical apparatus there that would keep it in some kind of refrigerator.
It's temperature controlled.
It's going to be controlled.
Yeah, it's going to be.
And also from meteorites or meteors that might hit the moon. After all, it doesn't have an atmosphere that can make them burn up before they hit the surface. So, if it's underground, that's where this ark would be the most protected. So, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting with any bottle really at my reach, so that when they say the word, I can blast off to the moon.
Well, you said they were collecting ova too, so maybe I'll
ladies too,
send some eggs over.
That's but don't they? It's more than just jerking off for ladies, right? They really got to go in there with
They
you.
have to extract them.
Yeah.
Right? They got to go in there and pluck them out.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, that could be like a Magic School Bus episode. Right?
Did they go over the reproductive system?
I don't think they could have for a children's show. They did pretty much everything else on the body. But I don't think... Now, that's more of a Rick and Morty thing. They would do that.
They would do that.
Yeah. When they have.
Yeah.
Remember?
Have. Yeah.
In season 1, I believe.
Anatomy Park?
Anatomy Park. There
Anatomy
you go.
Park.
Yeah.
That's a great game, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good board game.
Oh my God.
For those who aren't familiar. But anywho, so you get ready to send your eggs to the moon there, Steph.
I'm not using them.
That's the spirit. All right. Well, did you want to get into Geeking Out? It might be a shorter episode as opposed to the 2.5 hour-ish episodes that we've had probably since we started back in season 4 here. But it's a Steph episode, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, nerds, let's go.
And Geeking Out is brought to us by Mamba brand cheese. The cheese so good you'll be yelling Kobe.
That's hilarious.
Thank you.
Where do we get these sponsors?
I don't know. I get really high. But anyway, I was going to throw it to you first. You had an announcement to make for Geeking Out?
Oh, yes. The Los Angeles Comic Con is holding a special event. It's called MicroCon. It's a live digital event.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening Saturday, April 17 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And tickets will go on sale March 19th at 9 a.m. for about $15.
All right.
So you can enjoy a mini Comic-Con from the comfort of your own home on your laptop
Since
or
it's not
other
happening,
mobile device.
And you were really banking on it going down this year because you were supposed to go last year, right?
That was the San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, the San Diego one. Okay.
Big one that I have been waiting forever to get into, and we finally got into it. And then fucking 2020 was just the way that it was.
Like, fuck you, Steph.
Not this year.
Nope.
And not 2021 either, because San Diego Comic-Con got pushed back until 2022, which is fine. I mean, that's a really big event for San Diego, and I'm okay with it being pushed till 2022 just for safety, because people fly out from all over the country.
Yeah, they do.
And, from different countries as well. But on April, what did I say? 17. Saturday, April 17. You can enjoy a small little LA Comic-Con. I can't find anything on who the panelists are going to be.
Yeah.
But it's 4 hours with 8 different panels, and there's a marketplace that you can go to, pretty much online shopping with different vendors. And it's presented by Slideshow. And if you've never heard of Slideshow, they are a really good model company. They create these really nice bust and full scale action figures. Yeah, figurines. I don't want to call them
like
action
statues.
figures.
They call them statues.
Statues, and they have these nice fine art prints, and they collab with other.
And are these like handmade or they mass produce them?
They're limited editions, so they
meticulous about it.
only have maybe 1,000 of a piece, and then they'll stop it. What I like are the details of the faces, and they just released their WandaVision line, and that one's really
I'm sure that looks dope.
Yeah. Some of them are 1/6 scale, so you're looking at probably 12 to 16 inches for each figure.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I want the one that I want from Slideshow is an X-Men collection, and it's a full Sentinel, and there's Jubilee, Beast, Cyclops, Rogue surrounding him.
Yeah.
And they're just fighting him. And the detail on it is
you showed that to me.
Precise.
Yeah.
You can even see the the building and the bricks, how they kind of just open up
Yeah.
because the sentinels coming out of it.
Right.
And like the street lamps, everything has exquisite detail. So that's slideshow for you. So check it out. Check out MicroCon.
MicroCon.
It'll be a good time. I'm gonna join it.
All right.
It's gonna be nice.
And it's free, or you gotta pay?
No, $15.
It's $15,
And the
okay.
tickets go on sale Friday, March 19th.
Okay. Cool. If you're not still drunk from St. Patty's Day,
Right.
buy your tickets.
If you're not hungover.
Right. Well, I mean, even if you are hungry, just don't forget to buy your tickets. God damn it. Moving on. Now, I know that last week we said that we were going to stop talking about WandaVision, but we lied. So I want to talk about WandaVision,
What?
Steph.
There wasn't even an episode.
I know, but there was some things that have surfaced since then that might be important to point out, especially on a show like this, where we talked about WandaVision for the last 9 weeks or so. So during an appearance on the recent episode of Kevin Smith's Fat Man Beyond podcast, you're familiar with that?
Yeah.
Right? Matt Shackman, the director of WandaVision, spoke about how WandaVision is a story about loss and a love story with things centered around the Kubler-Ross model of grief. Being a psychology major, I knew exactly what that means because most people know it as the five stages of grief. And the early episodes were a big part of that. But they were initially meant to be released all at once, those first 3 episodes, which would have been way different in how we perceived, especially the Foo, the entire series.
Right.
It would have straight up just kind of like, it would have been a different conversation if they released those first 3. And apparently that was part of the plan. So I got this big ass quote, and why not just read out what it says about what the director had to say about it. So he says, "It's a great love story between 2 amazing characters, and their love story is so unusual that they couldn't be more different, and yet it feels so right that it was about trying to honor that love story and then also talk about how you come back from grief, and we've all lost people. And so intentionally we looked at the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross stages of grief. And so you get to the finale, which I think to a lot of people, you mentioned earlier, disappointed about whatever Easter eggs, I mean. It's inevitable that it would end about acceptance, right? It's about someone who has been in denial and about all the loss that she has, who created the sitcom world where she can't even remember how she got there. She doesn't allow herself to know how she got there, ends up accepting. You know, along the way, she gets angry, of course. Like we just talked about experiencer acts that she bargains with. We intentionally structured it that way. But he's talking about the whole fucking acceptance of it. And so he went on to explain that they decided to carry things as far as they could with that, something that might have worked a bit better. And they could have stuck to a plan because the pandemic really fucked them up. Mm-hmm. The pandemic, I think they even said there was supposed to be a 10-episode series. And that got cut short. So what they did, because they needed time, because also the pandemic ruined their production time, they only had so many weeks to film and finish the final episode, episode 9. It was supposed to end like with more Easter eggs and more things that we were already speculating about on this show. So by only putting out the first 2 episodes in that first week, it gave them an extra week, knowing that they would need the extra time. But you know, now looking at it big picture and hindsight being 2020, you agree, right? That if they would have released the first 3 episodes, it would have been a different perspective, or at least you would have maybe been able to appreciate those first 3 episodes, giving the homage to those like the 50s, 60s, and 70s kind of thing.
Yeah, because episode 4 was so different than the first 3 episodes. Mm-hmm. I get why they did it because of the pandemic. But it would have made more sense releasing all 3. And
the Foo wouldn't have bitched so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he would have gotten the spirit of what they were trying to go for. Because they kind of start heading in that direction at the end of episode 3.
I don't think he would have gotten it. It's the Foo. So this shit doesn't make any sense. Sounds just like that. Right.
But yeah, there was supposed to be a scene where Fietro, Jimmy Woo, Darcy, and Rambeau, they were all 4 of them gonna go into Agatha's, I guess, basement or lair?
Yeah,
witch lair, and find some artifacts that would have tied to something else, and maybe Doctor Strange in the future. What's that book called?
The Darkhold.
Yeah, they would have found the Darkhold themselves.
Do you think that they might have filmed those scenes and are probably going to save it for different shows
I think it would still fit.
or movies?
Because remember the last thing that we see them do, well, Darcy, she crashes the car
She bounced.
and she bounced, or did she? Or did she meet up with Jimmy Woo and then they went into that basement and found the dark hold?
No, Monica said that Darcy left because she thought interrogations were for
Or did she?
suckers.
I don't know, fucking. But
It's Darcy. You'll see her again.
yeah, but they may recycle that footage because they shot it.
Mm.
It was already shot, but they had to delete that scene or that whatever they had, that substance.
Yeah. So, no, they have extra footage. They always have extra footage. We'll just see if they're going to put it anywhere.
Yeah.
Probably pepper it into Loki. Maybe Winter Soldier. And
Which
the
is coming out
Falcon.
next week or on
Next
Friday, right? Winter Soldier.
Friday?
and
Yeah,
Falcon?
Friday.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Mhm.
The other thing I wanted to bring up today was South Park. They had a new episode, man. It was supposed
ParQ.
Yeah, South ParQ, the vaccination special. And a lot of things have been going on in South Park that, I don't know, maybe for the last few seasons, it hasn't been what it once was. And I think because of Trump, like they wanted to be relevant, and South Park usually is. They're usually like, what's happening in the news? What can we make fun of? But things were changing so much during, those 4 years of the last presidency that I think they fucked with South Park a little bit because they fucked with the formula that we've all been used to. And I found this article from Collider, and it's an old article. It's from 2017, July 4th, 2017.
Wow,
But-
that far back, huh?
yeah, but it's very relevant to what we are still experiencing with the production of South Park. So I wanted to start with, second paragraph down here. It says, it started small, with some characters returning for longer arcs throughout the season. But last year, and they are referring to season 20, in which case would have been 2016, it was the first show in the show's history for which Parker and Stone purposely set out to tell one season-long story arc, the serialization of their seasons.
Yeah.
It received a mixed response, and as it turns out, Parker wasn't too crazy about the finished product either. Parker, at least back in 2017, he went on with Chris Hardwick,
Yeah.
back when he still had his Nerdist podcast, and he talked to him about it, and this is a quote from Parker. He says, "It was totally an accident. It started like 3 seasons ago. We kind of just started crossing some things over and carrying some things over. And then we did the big PC principal season. At first, we were like, oh, man, all these shows have to do with PC stuff, so we got to get off to it. We got to get off of it. I'm sorry. And then we were like, why? If there's that much material, let's just fucking do it. So we kept at it. And we kept things hanging over, and people kind of liked it. So we finally said, all right, let's just go all out and actually do a serialized season where we kind of map it out and we know where we're kind of headed. And it was like the biggest disaster for us, he says.
Yeah.
And as many know, South Park's production schedule is usually a whirlwind in which each episode is concocted, written, animated, and edited in the span of 6 grueling days. There's there's a documentary out about the human centipede episode of the creation of that, and how it's 6 grueling days of them kind of doing everything. Even the animation gets done within those 6 days. The serialization of this series threw a wrench into that long-running formula, and that's why things got a little bit weird. So we can continuing on with the quote, just production-wise, we're not that kind of show, and I'm not that kind of person, says Parker. I need to walk into South Park on Thursday morning and go, what are we doing? And for me to walk in on Thursday and go, okay, let's see. This is left hanging here. This is here. This is here. It really became a nightmare. I really didn't like it. Whereas doing it a little bit where it's like, okay, let's do something totally new. Or we could bring that thing from last week. That's fine. I think we're going to go back to more of that. Indeed, one of the reasons the serialized season is so tough is that leading up to the presidential election, things were constantly changing. Parker admits that they had a longer production schedule. He feels if they had a longer schedule, he feels that he could have tackled that a little bit better, that serialization of the seasons. So he keeps going, trying to make that parallel between Trolls and Trump and us and just comedy in general was all interesting stuff. It's just that probably would have been better to do something like that over a year, having more than 8 weeks to do it, because shit changed so fast, because there was always something happening in the news when we all lived it, right? So one of the last things that he says here is that he misses Cartman dressing up like a robot and farting on butters and shit like that, you know? So he says, I want to go back to that shit, especially because now everything you turn on, and in any kind of comedy, it's like, all right, how are they making fun of Trump? And what are they doing to rip on Trump? In the same way that I'm sick of being the headline every day. There's other shit in the world going on. And yeah, I get it. Everyone's freaked out. But it's just like other shit happening. Life is happening still. We'll see. I really want to just get back to those things with the boys and hopefully have it be a nice break for everybody. And, you know, in talking now about the vaccination special that we just saw, I was telling the Foos in the chat that this is probably one of the least funny episodes I've seen of South Park probably ever, right?
Yeah, it had its moments.
It was
but
humorous.
Overall, it wasn't
funny.
It wasn't funny. But I felt like it was necessary.
Not laugh out loud funny. And yes, I'm glad you said that, because it was a necessary episode. Now, I do wish it was a little funnier, but the reason it was necessary is because they reset the Garrison universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Garrison character, they plucked him out of South Park, and then he became Trump, and then he was president, and of course he comes back into South Park, and everybody hates him because he pretty much ruined the country during the pandemic. And so it's a lot about that, and they even break the fourth wall, and Matt and Trey are actually like reanimating his new it's not Mr. Slave, it was Mr. Service.
Mr. Service.
His Secret Service guy, because you got to remember he was the president of the United States, so you got a lifetime of Secret Service agents. But they turned him back into Mr. Hat. Mr. Hat, which is the first.
We got Mr. Hat back.
Yeah, so we got Mr. Hat back, and hopefully we have the old Mr. Garrison back, and maybe they could get back to it. But now the boys broke up.
Oh, they'll get back together.
Okay,
this is not the first time.
And I think that's how they're going to break up the season, so it's not serialized. If you remember in the episode where Cartman gets Kenny for 2 days.
Yeah.
Stan gets him for 2 days, and
what is it,
Kyle
the 3-2-2 or 2-2-3, something like
2-2-3 week break.
Yeah.
So that they each get Kenny. So Kenny's the one. Kenny's the child in this divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they all have to protect Kenny. You don't make Kenny cry. Yeah. You protect him at all costs.
Right. And so that's cool. And I think I know where they're going to try to go with that, because if you get an episode of just with Kenny with Cartman or Kenny with Kyle, and they kind of teased something like that. If you guys remember, and I could be wrong, but I think in season 1 of South Park, there was like 3 episodes where it was the meteor shower episodes, where there was one episode where it was like Butters and some other kid and Tweak, I think, and maybe I think Kyle was with them, and then they had. That's where like the meteor shower happened, and the cops shot out like Gerald's house, and that's the same episode where Gerald and Randy jerked off in front of one another. I'm talking like this is early South Park, and there was other episodes that kind of happened within that same time frame, but from a different perspective, from like the perspective of just Cartman.
Do you think they're really going to go that far back?
I think so,
and
because
pull out ideas from that season.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so. Maybe, yeah. Maybe one episode is just like I said with Kenny and Kyle, and one episode's with Kenny and Stan and their adventures, and then the other one's with Kenny and Cartman. That would be cool, I think. I
mean, I would like to see that. But you know what was really pleasant in this episode was that they brought back all of the characters.
We didn't see the aliens.
The aliens were my favorite. Oh my God, they brought them back.
And Jesus is back.
We
saw Jesus. Mm-hmm. He needed a vaccine too.
Yeah.
He's human. Mm-hmm. And
he's back.
Well, we saw Mega Streisand.
Mega Streisand.
Yeah, in the background. We saw her there.
She was there. made an
So
appearance.
I think they're resetting the universe so that they can start writing like they used to again.
And you know what? It was all one big dick joke.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
It's a huge dick.
So when you compare it, the serialized versus non-serialized, would you agree that the non-serialized was better?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because you remember they did little experiments like Imagination Land, where it was like a 3-episode saga.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the entire season.
No, like those
are
2
okay.
to 3 episode arcs are fine.
Mm-hmm.
And because
But not a whole season.
it's funny just being able to reset
Yeah.
every week. It's like, what shenanigan are they going to get into? And then they don't have to continue it week after week. Like they can just have poor old Kenny die and he's just back next week. But we
Right.
can't do that anymore because we love Kenny.
Right. We do love Kenny.
Don't make Kenny cry.
And lastly, on Geeking Out, Steph, I wanted to talk about video games. And I don't normally talk about video games, but the reason that I wanted to bring this one up is because it takes me back to a simpler time when I used to play on my regular Nintendo. The Ninja Turtles are coming out with another video game. So we're getting a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and it looks pretty fucking dope. And it looks like, what would you call this, like a 16-bit?
No, it's 32-bit.
It's 32-bit?
Yeah, because I don't know. It looks more defined than a 16-bit.
Okay, yeah.
It looks 32.
I would agree. It's not quite 64, though.
No.
No, not like the N64. Somewhere in between Super Nintendo and N64. But this article here that I found on PCMag.com, gamers rejoice! A new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game is in the works, and it's going to be an old-school beat-em-up title. The upcoming game is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and the experience promises just to be like the TMNT arcade titles developed back in 1989 and 1991. Publisher Dotemu dropped the news on Wednesday with a trailer that sent out nostalgia through the roof. And the video starts as a throwback to the original TMNT cartoon show before showing us the full cast and some actual gameplay. So it's pretty much the song, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle song. Here, I'll play it for everybody real quick. Here, let me just turn on the good old audio and then press play.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, heroes in the hot shell. They are the world's most fearsome fighting king. The heroes in the half shell and their queen. When the evil Shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut him no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens.
The radical rap.
Leonardo Lee's Donatello does machine. Raphael's cool but rude.
Right.
Michelangelo's a party turtle. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in the hot shell.
So it has that old school gameplay. You see?
It's a side scroller.
Yeah, it's a side scroller.
Nice.
So it's not going to be that
It's
3D.
just like the arcade.
Yeah. And it's kind of, it's a 4-player game. If you remember, I think they're kind of taking a page from the Simpsons arcade game, where it was a 4-player game when you were on an actual arcade system. So I'm pretty excited. I kind of wish I had a PC. Not really. For this, for me to be able to play this. But I'm hoping you get a PC with your stimulus check, and
Yes.
I can play it on there.
That's my gift to myself for surviving.
For
quarantine.
surviving the apocalypse.
Apocalypse, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for that. So I hope everybody else is too. And do you have anything else to add to Geeking Out there, Steph?
Man, I'm really excited for that turtle game.
Yeah, it looks dope.
I
Looks
love
really old school.
the pizza that Michelangelo eats.
It looks all gooey with the cheese.
Oh, so good.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Geeking Out.
Are you on weed? Give me some. I'll smoke you two under the table.
And the joint report is brought to us by Namaste, the best indica on the face of the earth. The perfect strain for the pandemic, because when your friends are trying to make plans to go out, all you'll be saying is, nah, mistake.
Namaste in bed.
That's right. Well, on today, it's going to be a short one, but I wanted to point out that Mexico has published their medical cannabis regulations. And Mexico's president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, signed the new legislation to allow research on cannabis. So this Tuesday, they quietly passed and published the rules that will regulate medical cannabis, setting up Mexico for a nationwide cannabis industry and taking another step towards overall cannabis reform in a nation that's been under the spotlight for a long time when it comes to cannabis regulation. The Mexican president, officially signed into law the new legislation which allows pharmaceutical companies within the country to officially do research on cannabis for medicinal purposes. Additionally, it allows for testing of cannabis for recreational purposes, which will eventually lead to the world's largest national cannabis market. But for now, only the medical rules have a practical application, as only the medical industry has been completely established. And it makes it... I mean, we just finished watching Narcos and how that entire black market grew and how it just ravaged the citizens and just Mexico in general.
Yeah, but they also predicted, like they even said in the show, probably dramatization, that they were going to legalize it, marijuana, eventually.
And that's why they went to coke?
Yeah, and that's why they went to coke, because they just weren't making money.
Well, also, a lot of cannabis started becoming okay, or it was in the zeitgeist in the U.S., where more people were just okay with it. There was less and less of a stigma against it, at least in the States. And, I mean, the United States was the number one kind of moneymaker for the cartels in Mexico.
Right.
So yeah. And just to continue on here, this distinction is important because currently Mexican lawmakers are in the home stretch of legalization, working on a bill that is expected to pass during this legislative session in Congress, making recreational cannabis a reality within 2021. Since legislators are pretty sure it'll pass and are actively working on it, rules are being drafted for a recreational market as well. But for now, only the medical rules have been published and can actually be put to use. One thing that I posted on Instagram this week about this, because it was kind of still early on in this process, was that because it was just for medical purposes, a lot of what they're regulating is the seeds. And I guess there's a Ministry of Agriculture in Mexico that is able to regulate what kinds of seeds that you farm. I don't know if they have anything close to that here in the U.S. Maybe just the agricultural, I don't know, what is that? What department is that?
The Department of Agricultural Affairs.
That one. Yeah, that's the one. I don't know if they go or their overreach is as much as Mexico's is, where they're even telling people what kinds of seeds to use.
I'm pretty sure there's something like that.
I know
in general terms, like you cannot bring different fruit trees over from different states, depending on where you come from. Like from Arizona to California, you can't bring in like a lime tree or whatever because of the pests that live on the trees can just slaughter entire crops. But that's just generally speaking. So I don't know if they're actually regulating the seeds.
Well, Mexico's gonna. At least
imagine so.
They're drafting that out so that they can. Now, companies hoping to take a part in the new industry and do research to develop their products must reach out to COFEPRIS, the Mexican health regulator, in order to obtain permission. All laboratories must be independently run and strictly controlled to ensure proper results. And I mean, that's not foreign to us. California has seen all kinds of regulations when it comes down to it. That's why it makes it so difficult to run a dispensary, because you're taxed up the ass for it. And sometimes you have to, I don't know, the ones that are really doing it and are being successful, more power to them, because it's not easy. At least that's how I understand it. So let's see here. The standard of regulation is very, very high, says lawyer and pro-cannabis activist Luisa Conesa regarding a new regulations for those hoping to gain entry to the Mexican cannabis industry. The regulation is not aimed at patients growing their own cannabis. It's aimed at pharmaceutical companies producing pharmaceutical derivatives of cannabis, which are classified as controlled substances that need prescription. In addition, further down the line, the regulation lays the groundwork for the planting, harvesting, and cultivation of cannabis for medicinal purposes only. Now, for the first time since it was initially outlawed, medical cannabis can be legally grown within Mexican borders. Some imports will still be allowed for companies looking to create certain products, but no exports will be legally happening. For now, at least, Mexican cannabis will be grown in Mexico and then must legally stay in the country. So that's where the black market can continue, where it previously said in this same article, as you know, as this thing continues to grow, Mexico will be the sole largest producer of a cannabis industry.
Right.
And if they continue to do the research, if the quality of this cannabis becomes better than anything that we've ever seen here in California, which in my opinion is probably some of the best weed in the world, if you get better than that, I mean, we're going to start seeing some of that crossover, and that black market will continue to grow.
I think eventually they will establish like trades. Mm-hmm. It's just going to happen.
You're going to have to.
Yeah.
Especially if, I mean, after all, this is a type of capitalist market where you're trying to produce the best cannabis in the world.
It's going to be like coffee, right? Okay. You have different countries that produce coffee, but which one is the best one? Mm-hmm. Then you're going to always want that product.
Yeah, I mean, and this article finishes off by saying that this is paving the way for a comprehensive cannabis market, at least here in North America. Regardless of any fact, the United States and Canada will still have their eyes on Mexico, as legal cannabis companies look for ways that they could potentially expand their market and grow their businesses. Now, the future of medicinal and recreational cannabis has finally been revealed to all of those that have a vested interest. This is huge. This is a huge milestone for Mexico, as it has to deal with both internal violence from drug cartels fighting it out over an illicit market, as well as backlash from the U.S. about drug imports from illegal cartels and other parties. This is the first step onto a fully legal cannabis industry in Mexico, something that is exciting to the entire cannabis world, which I would agree with.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a part of NAFTA now. They just got to wedge it in there. Do we still have NAFTA? Is that still a thing? Yes, it is, right? Didn't they renew it recently? I don't fucking know.
I don't know, man. That's something I don't pay attention to. Like, I know we should, just like in the back of our minds, but I don't. Yeah. That's cool, man. More power to them.
Yeah, at least now if you're trying to party it up in Mexico and you have a little weed on you, and they're not going to hassle you for it.
It's for my medical condition.
Yeah, you might need some kind of medical card down there then, huh?
To prevent hangovers.
Yeah, I don't even think it does that. It helps you deal with the hangovers, but you're still going through the hangover. Like, I have treated hangovers with cannabis
to prevent nausea from my hangover.
Okay. All right, there we go. That's more on the nose. Cool. Well, thanks, Steph. I think that's going to do it for today's, what do you call it? Joint report?
Joint report.
All right.
Smoke weed every day.
All right. Well, let's get on with it with the music highlights. And today's music highlights is brought to us by the new album by The Alloys, the new duet song collection by Iron Man and Silver Surfer. So you get it?
I got it.
You got the Alloys.
Yes.
Steph. Thank you. All right. On today, I wanted to talk about 3 newish kind of songs. Well, one in particular by this band that I just discovered called the Snuts. Now, it's the and then Snuts, but I think what they were really going for were these nuts.
These nuts.
So this song in particular is called Elephants. I wanted everybody to check it out. It's a jam.
Yep.
A lot of their new music is very much like this. It's very kind of like, how do I explain it? Lo-fi, but it's not lo-fi. But there's a jam to it.
There is.
There's a good jam to it, and it's a good energy about it. But a lot of their new album is this way, and I recommend everybody go check out the Snuts, or as I like to call them, these nuts. And Steph, yesterday we went to go hang out with our friends Sandra and Caesar, and Caesar's actually in a band that's been on this show before, the Soaring Blackbirds. And we saw a live event starring Danko Jones. Danko Jones is a rock band from Canada. And ever since that they've introduced me to Danko Jones, the guy's just full of good energy. And he's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. He puts on a great show. This is my first time seeing them.
Yeah, you had no idea who it was.
Yeah, I had no idea who this band was. Oh, my God. I was fucking
fun.
Delighted, dude. It was the guy's energy, his facial expressions.
Well, he's a big fan of like pro wrestling, so he uses that attitude from like, I don't know, late 80s, early 90s pro wrestling. Like Macho Man Randy Savage, fucking like that kind of cadence and aggression when he talks to you. But it's hilarious.
It's definitely a good performance.
Yeah, it's a good performance. So off of his new album, or their new album, because the band is named after him, but it's three guys. The album is called Power Trio, and there's a song on it called I Want Out that we heard play yesterday, and it was awesome. So everybody check this out. So a lot of his music is very much like this, and it's very delightful, man. It's fucking great.
Yeah, just high octane rock.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. If everybody has a chance to check out Danko Jones live, he's just full of this kind of cool energy. And it was kind of awkward because, being the pandemic and everything, they were doing the live stream of a show, but with no audience.
Yeah.
So, like, he would make it a point of, like, there not being an audience there, and it was just this awkward silence in between songs sometimes, but like he made it work. It was funny.
That was part of the humor, though.
Yeah,
like, he knew what he was doing. It's like, all right, how's everybody feeling out there? And then immediately followed by silence.
Just fucking cricket. Cricket's sound effects would have been perfect right there.
Yeah. It's just like, I know I can't hear you here, but I hear you in my head. It's like, man, like watching that, just I miss rock shows like in person.
Yeah, nothing's like it. Nothing else is like it.
I miss it. But it was a good time.
Yeah. Last but not least, Steph, the last song that I wanted to bring up is this week in music history. Now, Jimi Hendrix, he's been dead for a very, very, very long time. I would say at this point, 50 years, give or take?
Just about.
I'm sure I'm
40, 50?
Pretty close, I think. But in 2013, under the supervision of Jimi Hendrix's sister Janie Hendrix and his producer / engineer Eddie Kramer, in 2013, they put out an album called People, Hell and Angels, which it all collects the 1968 and 1969 recordings that showcase what Hendrix was doing post Electric Ladyland, the album that he put out just previously before he passed away. Most of the recordings here haven't surfaced in these forms on bootlegs, and the quality is consistently high. Now, one of the songs that I wanted to play was "Hear My Train a Comin'," and a lot of these songs were played with a lot of former Hendrix's band members from Band of Gypsies, and even from The Experience. So this one in particular, I wanted to again. I was saying this one's called "Hear My Train a Comin'." So let's check this one out. Of Jimi Hendrix and Jimi Hendrix Experience too. I mean, Jimi Hendrix has his own style, but he kind of carried it over, in my opinion, to a lot of what he was doing. And to think that they had enough material to bring out another Jimi Hendrix album in 2013, kind of, how they did it with Tupac recently.
Oh yeah,
where it's just like, is he even really dead? Even Chappelle made fun of him.
He had a new song.
Yeah.
It's just, they have so much material. Because I would have just imagined, it's like, okay, he's just writing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, these are artists back in the 60s that just had hours and hours of studio time and all the tape that they can use up and to record. And I would imagine that if maybe they had mixed and mastered this particular version back in the early 70s, it probably wouldn't have that staticky hiss to it because, it's brand new tape. Or who knows? Maybe it could have sounded just like this, and they waited a long time to digitize it and remaster it. They probably wouldn't have it if they did it sooner. But we have it now, and it's pretty awesome.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's Hendrix. I mean, look at him. He's very many have come close, but nobody's gonna do what Hendrix did. Not he was a special ray of light back in the 60s when he came out with his music, man.
Something like a good Jimi Hendrix song.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on to Foo Facts.
Foo
Steph.
Facts. You got Foo Facts for us?
Huh?
You got Foo Facts
I got
for us?
Foo Facts, and I think this is the first time in the Foo Bar Show history that I am coming up with some Foo Facts.
They better be good.
Well, we have a sponsor for it. Foo Facts is brought to us by the new hipster ice packs. They were water before it was cool.
They were water before it was cool.
Yeah. So anyway.
That joke's lukewarm.
God damn it, Steph. God damn.
But
yeah, you're probably pretty happy with that.
I am.
All right.
Pat
cool.
myself on the back, give myself a little chuckle.
Yeah. Anywho. So let's see here. Foo fact number 1. Oh, this one's going to knock your socks off. McDonald's once made bubblegum flavored broccoli.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
Unsurprisingly, the attempt to get kids to eat healthier didn't go over well with the child testers who were confused by the taste. And it would confuse me if you're feeding me bubblegum flavored broccoli. How would you even go about doing that?
It's probably just like a spray that they put on.
Like a sauce or something? Or
not
like a
even,
dip?
Not even a sauce. They probably just,
I'm sure this was an attempt to get kids to eat healthy, but God, it would wig me out.
Even as a kid, I did not like the flavor of original bubblegum. It was just off-putting to me.
Oh.
I was out ever since I was a kid. Spearmint. That was my go-to gum flavor, or the zebra gum.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's another Foo Fact for you, Steph. The first oranges weren't even orange.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
The original oranges from Southeast Asia were a tangerine pomelo hybrid, and they were actually green. In fact, oranges in warmer regions like Vietnam and Thailand still stay green through maturity. So, yeah, you could probably find some oranges, and I hope they taste like orange still, and they don't taste like, more of a grapefruity flavor.
Probably. They probably taste, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know, in nature, they're probably not that big either. Mm-hmm. They're probably smaller, than these giant hand-sized orange that we get. It's all like...
Yeah. Well, let's see. Moving on.
Grotesque.
Yeah. The only letter that doesn't appear in any U.S. state name is Q.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
You're probably thinking, all right, well, where's the X? Well, we got New Mexico. There's an X in that.
Yeah.
What about a Z? It's in Arizona.
Mm.
And J, we got one in New Jersey. And everything else would, I think, arguably be pretty common. Even K, you got Arkansas.
Yeah. Dakotas.
The Dakotas, yeah. And so that leaves Q. But unfortunately, Q has kind of taken over the zeitgeist here. Ironic.
Quaint.
No, not quaint.
No, if I had to name a state, it'd be a tiny little island, and it'd just be a little quaint. Where are you gonna go? I'm gonna go to a little quaint.
A cow bison hybrid is called a beefalo.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
You can even buy its meat in at least 21 states throughout the U.S.
A beefalo.
A beefalo, Steph.
A beefalo.
Yeah. Like a beefalo burger.
Immediately when you said beefalo the first time, I immediately thought of a juggalo, and I pictured the juggalo's makeup on that animal. Beefalo, and he's just like, or she is just like rolling or walking slowly down the grassy
Like,
knoll.
wow, that beefalo is down with the clown until it's dead in the ground.
Mm-hmm. And that's the only beefalo, and he just, that cow is just not understood.
Yeah.
I mean, the beefalo.
Right. The beefalo.
It's not understood.
Let's see here. Johnny Appleseed's fruits weren't for eating.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
And for those who were curious, there was literally a real-life Johnny Appleseed. His name was John Chapman, and he planted thousands of apple trees on U.S. soil. But the apples on those trees were much more bitter than the ones you find in the supermarket today. Johnny Appleseed didn't expect his fruits to be eaten whole, but rather to be made into hard apple cider, which I think we can all get behind. Now, you're a fan of Scotland, right?
Yeah. Didn't we have Josh come up with a Foo Fact about the unicorn from Scotland?
Oh, it's like an official animal of Scotland, right?
Yeah.
Or some bullshit like that.
It's majestic.
Well, you know how there's like cultures that have like a million words for like hello or something like that. Well, Scotland has 421 words for snow.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
Is there there's a native language for Scotland, right? Kind of like how Ireland has Celtic.
Yeah. I don't know what the name of it is.
I don't know.
No. Ireland is Gaelic.
Oh, is that okay? So what's Scottish? Scottish?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't fucking know. You're looking it up?
I'm going to look it up because now it's bothering me.
All right, well, I'll go on to the next one.
Yes.
All right, fact. Foo fact. Samsung tests phone durabilities with a butt-shaped robot.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
So there's just this robotic ass that, they put jeans on it and then they put the phone in the bag and have it sit down to see how strong it can.
What I want to know is what size is that ass? Are we talking about like a petite little ass? Or are we talking about like badonkadonk? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe all sizes.
Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe there's just more than one robot.
So Scotland actually has Scottish Gaelic and English as their languages.
Well, it's not English. I mean, how many words for snow do we have in English?
Well, I mean,
The snow.
I typed in native language of Scotland and it gave me Scottish Gaelic and English.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'll end with this one here, Steph. Let's see. The Windy City name has nothing to do with Chicago weather.
Foo Facts. Foo Facts.
Chicago's nickname was coined by 19th century journalists who were referring to the fact that its residents were windbags and full of hot air. And that's why Chicago is called the Windy City. Although it is windy. I'm told.
I have no idea. I've never been there. But what a way to remember a city by implying an insult over the land.
Yeah. Is there any place in the U.S. that we also do that to?
I'm sure there is, but I can't think of it right now.
I mean, Philly being the city of brotherly love, that's a little ironic. A bunch of dicks over there. But, yeah, anyway. So, yeah, the Foo and Josh didn't make it, obviously, and we carried on just okay. Well, we don't have video for today's episode, but what are you going to do, right?
Well, I mean, if y'all listened and donated, we can get you some high-quality video.
Yeah, well, we just need another computer to be able to support the video component, but...
and donate so we can get a nice, high-quality computer.
Go to foobarshow.com. We have a... we have a little donate button there. You can Venmo us, and you can also PayPal us. Yep. So, yeah, help us out, everybody. Or tell your friends. Goddamn, like, yeah, the more plays we get, the more change we get from the ads.
Yeah.
Every little bit counts, man. And we appreciate you, motherfuckers. So, anyway, we'll try to do this all over again next week with the Foo and Josh, and hopefully by next week they'll be ready for that Podzilla. I think we had teased it last week to possibly do it today. Obviously, that's not happening. But it was going to be Return of Godzilla, right?
Return of Godzilla.
1984, right?
Yes.
1984.
Yes.
And Steph and I saw it, and it was a movie.
We'll save it.
It was okay. I think it wasn't great.
Look, I'm just going to preface it with it was different than the Showa era Godzillas.
Yeah, it was. We'll leave it at that. We'll let the Foo shit on it when he's here. So, anyway, thank you all very much for listening into the Foo Bar Show. Thanks for hitting subscribe, and remember to rate, review, and tell your friends like a fucking champion. You can always reach us and check out our merch at foobarshow.com. That's FOObarshow.com, and search FOO Bar Show on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. Check us out. Drop us a line, and we'll fill it up like a couple of Foos. I've been Joe C.
And I've been Steph.
Signing off, saying...